We'll call this one structural system. What? Structural system is a completely new standard in Inspire, and the language in the standard is a bit confusing at first, to say the least. After a dozen readings, I think I understand, but I'm not absolutely certain. I think we'll see some kind of a clarification come out from REAC on what this means, but it may come in the form of verbal instructions during a mandatory phone call for inspectors, rather than in written form to the general public. The structural system definition in itself is short and to the point. If we simply read it and accept it without question, it seems to be a stopgap item designed to capture only very rare conditions. Structural failure of items that don't have any standards of their own. But let's read it to see what I mean here. There's only one deficiency under structural system. The simplified version simply says, structural system exhibits signs of serious failure. And note here that this can be cited in the unit, inside and outside. It's life-threatening, so it's high scoring. Real simple, except what structural system? What are you talking about here? The longer version goes on like this. Structural system. It's a load-bearing system within the built environment, i.e. structures, features, and facilities. Common components can include the foundation, a beam, floor, wall, roof, slab, plinth, dwelling balconies, decks, patios, basements. For more information, if failure is present at a structural element, then it should be evaluated under the respective standard, which may include ceiling, chimney, floor, foundation, roof assembly, wall exterior, wall interior. Deficiency 1. Structural system exhibits signs of failure. Deficiency. Structural system exhibits signs of serious failure and may threaten the residents' safety. More information. If signs of failure are present and cannot be attributed to a specific structural element, then evaluate under this standard. If failure is present at a structural element, then it should be evaluated under the respective standard, which may include ceiling, chimney, floor, foundation, roof assembly, wall exterior, wall interior. So it would be easy to just accept at this point that we never cite potential failures at any of these items under structural systems. We would cite them under their respective standards. What it really means is that we need to review all of these standards to see if they cover structural failure or not. Reading over the ceiling standard, just trust me on this, there's no mention of structural failure. The chimney standard specifically covers structural failure of the chimney, so we cite failure of the chimney under chimney. The floor standard tells us to cite structural failures under structural system instead of floor. The foundation standard tells us to cite structural failure under structural system instead of foundation. The roof assembly standard tells us to cite structural failure under structural systems instead of roof assembly. The wall standards, both interior and exterior, tell us to cite structural failure under structural system instead of the wall standards. So we've got a kind of circular or self-contradictory instruction going on here. The structural system standard seems to tell us to evaluate the failure of specific structural items under their respective standards, but then their respective standards tell us to evaluate potential failure under structural systems. If I'm reading this correctly, it would have been better to just say that the potential failure of any structural system other than chimney goes under this standard. This would include potential failures of ceiling, floor, wall, foundation, and or roof assembly. I always find it easier to visualize these things by putting it into an Excel spreadsheet and organizing it that way. I'm going to give you a little matrix of all these different standards and where structural failures are cited. Thanks for viewing. If you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up, please.